Good afternoon. Today is February 11th, 2026, and this is the Prescott City Council Subcommittee on General Plan Review. The meeting is now called to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Kathy Rusing.
Here.
Councilwoman Frederickson.
Here.
Councilman Grady.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. Next item.
Discussion and possible action regarding appointment of chair and vice chair for the subcommittee.
Let's have a discussion. Who wants to volunteer? Let's do the chair first, and then we'll do the vice chair. Do I hear any discussion? Whatever you guys want to do.
Well, Mayor,
I was just going to say, as our mayor, I think you should be the chair, but I'll bow to anybody else. But Patrick, are we good with that? I'm not asking you, Mayor.
I'm good with that, and I know you're very busy with all your roles, so if that doesn't work for you, I'd be happy to serve in that position as well, so whatever works for you.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll, since I have a long history with the general plan, several decades, I think, I'll go, I'll accept the nomination. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Please vote. You have
All
to
in
do
favor,
it.
say aye.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nay? Looks like
Vote passes.
passes 3-0. Okay, now moving on to the vice chair. Who wants to nominate someone for the vice chair? I'd like to nominate Patrick.
I'll second that.
Okay. Please vote.
Aye.
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 Vote passes 3-0.
Okay, well, that was quick.
Thank you, by the way.
Next item.
Okay, so the next item is me where I enter. We have discussion regarding general plan and desired next step in adoption process. So really, there's kind of a few questions staff has at this point, and then based on answers, decisions that you all make will kind of funnel the next steps and decisions. So what we really want this meeting to be is just table setting. Where are we starting? How do you want to move forward? Just really getting kind of the whole thing figured out. And so then the next time we meet, we can have better timelines outlined, just kind of go from there. So I think first and foremost, there's been discussion about a consultant. I know we voted in December to get a consultant, but where I'd like to start is maybe just a touch base. Do we want a consultant? Is that a route we want to go? Start there, maybe have some discussion, and then we can move forward.
Yeah. I feel strongly. I thought we did, the council already voted on it.
Yes.
Hiring a consultant.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I just wanted to make sure we're all still on the same page there, starting with
Yes.
the full-on foundational platform. Okay, so moving on now, we are gonna engage a consultant. Then staff's going to work on an RFP to draft, to put that out for bidding.
Yeah.
And I guess for you all, the next thing is, how do you want to be involved? How do you want the consultant involved? And how do you want that to work?
Well, my thoughts are, and we'll all take a stab at our thoughts. My thoughts are that the previous general plan didn't even make it out, not only onto the ballot, didn't even make it out of city council. And people have been working on it for 3 years, and for whatever reason, it failed. So you've heard the saying, the definition of insanity is to keep repeating the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So I said, let's hire a consultant. A lot of other communities do the same thing. And that way we will know that we've adhered to the state statutes. And we should have a copy of this general plan, state statutes in our general plan, and us on the committee should have it, the public should have it, and adhere to that, and the consultant can do that. And in the meantime, until we get the consultants hired, we can still work on, as a community, with what we want to change in the general plan and use the 2015 plan and also our current, our failed 2025 general plan, and kind of look at what's good, what's bad, what worked, what the controversies were. We got feedback. People thought it was DEI. We can look and see what the problems were with there. We've had a lot of community input, and get a good start foundation. And then when the consultants are here, we'll have some direction for them, and then we can collaborate with them. What do you think, Patrick?
A couple points. I think that we should actually look more at the March 25th and the June 24th general plan and have a discussion around that. I think the 2015 plan is out of date, and I just think that's another resource to look at. We obviously have a copy of it. It had some good things in it that I liked, but I think with the general plan review committee and the amount of time that they and the public spent on the March and in part the June 24th plan, I personally think we should start with either B or C as a recommended action.
Yeah, and in the 2015, what I liked about that is the maps.
I knew you would.
Basically, it was very important to have good maps in a land use planning document, and we didn't achieve that. So that's why I was I love the maps in the 2015.
And if I may, that's definitely something we can highlight for a consultant. As Councilman Grady was saying, start with one of the 2025 plans. And then if maps is a focus we can add that too as part of the RFP.
Okay. Mary?
Well, I would agree. I don't think we need to go back to 2015, mostly as having been part of the General Plan Review Committee. The portions, the elements of the general plan that we worked on began with the 2015, and then the staff developed it, updated it, had the departments update their game plan, what their challenges were. So really, the 2015 is baked into the 2025. I would be inclined to start with the June version.
That's the skinny version?
Yes, as a starting place, but also looking at the March version and pull in anything that we felt had been cut aside inappropriately, or in hindsight, maybe should not have been cut out. But starting with the smaller version and pulling in parts that we feel should be included, I think is a good way to go.
Because I think that's one thing the community, parts of the community were kind of suspicious about the length, and that's why we came up with the skinny version. What do you think about the skinny version?
I'm sorry, I'm a big supporter of the March 24th version. That won't surprise you. I think that we're making and have made too much to do about the difference between those two plans. We cut out a slew of strategies. I don't remember the number, but I'm sure it was 100 to 150 strategies. But really the page length, which folks keep talking about sometimes in error, the March 25th version is like 134 pages, and the what we're calling the skinny version is, still 117 pages. I don't think the general plan recommendation should be based on number of pages, but the substance of the document. and the general plan 2025 March version was approved by the General Plan Review Committee after 2.5 years. And actually you were a part of that process and approved it as well. So that's my recommendation, that we start with the March 25th plan.
The original one, and then we can pare it down if we want, or double it if we want.
No, I'm not agreeing to that.
We could have the one on steroids. So, Mary, what do you think about that? We can always start with the bigger version and then pare it down. And then we'll listen to the consultant too and what their thoughts are.
I am more inclined to start with the skinny and bring in things that if anyone amongst the three of us, or we think the public might be inclined towards, bring in those things that got paired off that maybe should not have. I think it's easier to add than to subtract.
May I interject?
Yeah.
My major concern is that the skinny version was really done by a couple of council members and didn't have any really public input. So I think that it was biased towards deleting the number of strategies because they didn't think that our community would understand all of those strategies, I guess. That's one of the reasons it didn't really have, citizen engagement and approval like the March 25th plan.
Well, darn.
Right off the bat. I'd have to say, though, that the March version, excuse me, had input from community members that cared to come out and engage. Being on the committee, I didn't feel it was a wide swath of the citizenry of Prescott, but those people who were really motivated to come out and provide input. Like I say, there may be elements that got taken away that seem to the three of us, and we have our own biases, to put back in.
Yeah.
But starting with the whole thing, which is the March version, and then parsing out stuff to take out. It seems like that's reinventing the wheel to me.
Let me cut to the chase here. The 2025 had plan, or the March 25th, 2025 plan had the anti-discrimination clause in it. And the June 24th plan had the anti-discrimination clause in it, but had been modified, right? Is that what the difference, the main difference was, to get it
I don't recall that it was modified.
on the ballot? Because I remember Councilwoman Lois worked very hard with the MLK committee to get it modified.
Okay.
And so that might be one of the reasons why we might want to start there. And that was a big issue. That was one of the issues why it got hung up.
Yeah, I mean, there are citizens who will listen to this dialogue, and I concur that we're going to have to look for compromises along the way. But Mary, I'm concerned that you felt that there wasn't much citizen participation in the March 25th version, and yet that's the one where all the community meetings were held, public comments, probably had several hundred public comments, and the majority of whom had positive things to say about what was contained in that March 25th version. And then after it made it through P&Z and came to City Council, that's when, yes, a new group of citizens came forward and felt there were issues which we don't have to go into great depth on. There were issues, with that general plan and what it said and what it didn't say. But yeah, let's not characterize that first plan as, lacking citizen participation. It was an amazing level of
It was.
participation.
People were very engaged. But going back to the original March plan, I remember voting for it, and it didn't pass because people were gone. And in hindsight, I was glad that it didn't pass because there was the land use map and the water use. The general plan's land use and water use map had been altered to increase the size by 12 square miles. It included the Williamson Valley corridor. And we were not aware of that. That was never discussed. And I only discovered it because I was the chair of the Water Issue Subcommittee, and Leslie Grazier was talking about the long-term water policy, and she started with that map. And then I realized because I've looked at this map for a long time, from the old general plan, and I said, whoa, what happened here? So that was a good thing because we didn't realize that map had been changed. So then we decreased it. We subtracted that 12 square miles because the people out in Williamson Valley didn't want to be annexed, and we didn't want to grow to the base of Granite Mountain and up past Outer Loop Road. And so that was a good thing that the March 25th plan wasn't passed. It was kind of an incidental thing, which turned out to be a big deal. And that's why when we came back with the skinny version in June, that map had been reversed and was the same size as the 2015. So I'm thinking that's why we need to go with the June 20, start with that, because it has the revised map in it. And then there was another revision, a question about that last, let's see, where is it? That chart about the
Land use amendments.
the land use amendment, what's a major, what's a minor.
Right,
There was still there were still some problems with the 25th, the June 25th one, or the March 25th one. So, plus, we need to let the consultants, whatever we pick, my plan is to, let the consultants give us direction on the anti-discrimination clause and what they think about it, because they're the professionals. And we just need to be cautious and get their input first as to what their recommendations were.
Yeah, it's the same language in the March and June plan, the anti-discrimination language.
No.
It didn't change.
It should have, because Lois had worked very hard to get it narrowed down to something that was.
Yeah. The March and June, both of those plans, that one paragraph that had the word genders, that was the major concern is the same in the March and the June plan version.
But I was, okay. Anyway, so I think I'm leaning more towards just starting with the skinny version, the 2024 plan, mainly because the map is correct in it and we don't have to plow that field again, and focus on, the land use map is the major criteria for me. It's correct in the 2024 plan, or the June 24 plan, and then let the consultant look at it and look at our recommendations, the public input. I mean, when do you think the consultant will be on board? It'll take 2 months?
It would probably take a little bit longer. By the time we actually get someone on board and ready, we're looking at more 3 to 4 months, I would
Yeah.
say.
But I'm hoping that if we have our recommendations in order, they can work on it pretty easily. Plus, it's a sliding scale. If they have to start with nothing, then they charge us more. But the more work we do, then the less work they have to do. and it'll be a little more palatable, their fee. Didn't we get a chart or something that showed what their fees were going to be?
We got a quote from one person, a real rough draft, and it was prior to kind of this new parameters that we're working with. So yes, the less they have to do, the
less they have
the
to
cheaper
do.
it will be.
Yeah. And yes, Patrick.
So there's no potential for some type of expedited process
In terms of getting a
in terms of
consultant?
procurement
RFP.
with the RFP.
Yeah, I thought we'd already had started that process when we voted on it. I thought that the RFP was already submitted and we were already receiving it. I didn't know we were going to wait till next year, basically.
May I address that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Matthew Podracki, Deputy City Attorney, for a couple more weeks before I retire.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. These probably are professional services, which takes you out of the realm of doing solicitation. So you can do direct selection. So if we know of certain consultants that we would trust, we can directly negotiate with them and enter into a contract fairly soon. So if you want to avoid the RFP process, I think this is one of those times you can do that because our solicitation code allows for the direct selection of professional services.
I think that's a great idea. Thank you. It'll save us some time and they can get to work on it sooner. And we'd probably want to solicit consultants that are familiar with Arizona, that have worked in other communities, that we can look at those plans and they'll submit, I figure, examples of their work. Or
Yeah, and we'll work with the Community Development Department.
Yeah.
Try to kind of come up with an idea of some people who we think would be a good fit for Prescott and try to get them on board as soon as possible, if that's your direction.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the alternate approach is you do an RFP and allow it to be.
Well, thank you. I didn't know that was an option.
And you-
Mary, does that sound good?
No, I agree with that, getting it going. If we're going to hit the ballot in November, is that still thought to be possible?
That's our moonshot.
2027. At this point, with the changes that we're looking at and the amount of then getting it back out for public outreach and getting public agency comment and then hitting those statutory deadlines, it's going to have to be November 27. Not this year.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that schedule. I thought if we made our final recommendations with appropriate ballot language by the end of June,
Right.
that we would be able to get it on the ballot. And I don't know yet why we can't reach that.
Yeah, we also have July and August for public agency and community outreach. So
Yes.
that's
with-
always,
Sorry,
we
what
can
are
always
we
shoot
missing?
for that.
With the level of changes, we were thinking, it's going through a whole nother, and I can let Elaine chime in as well, but it's going to be starting kind of not over with a blank document, but in terms of the public comment process, the amount of changes that have happened, going through the whole process again.
I think, if I may interject, if we started with the March version instead of the June version, and I know that may not be acceptable, but then maybe we could make changes to the June version that would, this isn't a legal term, be considered tweaking, and therefore would shorten that time frame. That's a question, sorry.
Do you want me to address that?
Yes, please.
So Mayor and Council, so a couple of things that we had taken a look at in terms of just reviewing where we were at and what the options were statutorily. So we're kind of in a bit of a legal quandary in terms of the general plan, since we didn't re-adopt a general plan under 946106K. We had that 10-year period in order to re-adopt, and it wasn't re-adopted, nor did we issue a new general plan. So as we were discussing it within the legal department, the safer approach so that we weren't, the more conservative approach so that we wouldn't face any type of challenges to what we were doing was to go back through and make sure that we readopted by way of what the statutory elements were, which does require a longer public comment time. It's certainly up to you guys if you want to choose to go off of a more recent plan and then just try to make certain amendments. But when you're looking at any major amendments in the readoption process, wanting to make sure that that transparency is there for the community, since this has been a pretty long and ongoing and arduous process, to make sure that we are transparent. That was kind of the more conservative approach that we looked at, is because we don't technically, we're in a state where we don't have a general plan currently by statute, that we would be looking at reaffirming and going through that entire general plan process that's required under the statute. And that's kind of what I think Alex was getting at, and what we had discussed was that conservative approach, and that would be why.
I thought it was my understanding that if a new 10-year plan was not approved by deadline, the old plan would
still in
continue to
force.
be in effect.
So, and in theory, I mean, I think that's a good way of looking at it under the statute, and specifically under, I just want to make sure that I'm directing you right. So 9461.06K, it indicates that that the plan is effective for up to 10 years after the date, and until the plan is readopted, or until the plan is readopted pursuant to this subsection and ratified under subsection M
Yeah.
of this section, and then it becomes effective. And so on or before the 10th anniversary of the plan's most recent adoption, the governing body of the municipality shall either readopt the existing plan for an additional term of up to 10 years or shall adopt a new general plan. It doesn't really contemplate the fact that 2015 plan is still in process, but I do think that that is a good way of looking at it, and we can move forward with that as well.
Kind of by default.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
everything Elaine said is right. Joseph Young, city attorney. But the kind of the idea that the previous plan stays in effect came from the provision where if a new general plan goes to the voters and fails, the statutes are very clear. If the new general plan goes to the voters, it fails, the previous plan stays in effect, and then we go through the process again. However, we're very clearly, and we talked about this to council before we got to that date, we're in violation of the law right now. And there's no contemplation for not giving the voters something to vote on. So the idea that the old general plan stays in place is just sort of a reasonable assumption, but that's not what the law states. The law assumes that we get a plan to the voters in time, and we didn't.
Thank you.
Another thing, a concern is, I found it, the major plan amendment map. It talks about open space recreation and rezoning it to very low density and commercial employment, commercial. So this map's already outdated. Yeah,
So, Mayor?
right. Yeah.
Right.
And so anyway, this map's already is, I'm just focusing on the land use part. So that's why I think this was updated in the June version. But it might not have, but we need to look at it.
So I have another related question. So this wasn't prepared by city council, so it must have been prepared by staff, which had an adoption timeline. I'm looking at yours.
There's the other one. Yeah.
So the one timeline was the one that took us to 27. Then there was a minor plan amendment with mandated timelines. I'm still confused as to why we can't meet those timelines, or why staff presented it to us as an option, because we were working under the assumption that we could potentially get it to the voters this year. So I need a little more help on, now we're being pretty clear recommendation to us that we cannot, because it's more than a minor plan amendment, I suspect.
Right. Mayor, Council, Chelsea Walton, Community Development Director. Yes. So that timeline was created prior to, and I think in preparation for the December 9th conversation. And since that time, and with further legal review relative to kind of where we are, but I just want to take a step back for a moment and recognize kind of where we've been with the general plan and where it is in the public sphere right now. And this is just Chelsea having dealt with the public and attended the meetings and presented at them, that I feel like we're at a point where the public has so much fixation on this plan that if it feels like we're rushing it. I mean, there's really no point to rush it at this point. Let's get, I would advocate for an RFP only because I know that the 27 election is likely where we're going to land. And that will give us a well-paced, transparent policy and process through this thing, so that the public is comfortable, so that the consultant doesn't feel rushed and they can go through it answering all of the questions that the subcommittee may have. And furthermore, from legal's review and wanting to get it out in the public again, I feel that that's so necessary. And those statutory, I mean, we have to have 60 days of public comment. With not having a consultant online, and I'll address Mayor's comments about the March plan and Lois's work because I remember that. With needing to meet all of those statutory requirements and having to have the language finalized by the end of June to even get on a ballot, there simply just isn't enough time to accommodate a 26 election. So taking a deep breath and recognizing that we can make it very transparent, make people feel more comfortable with what's in the plan, it would make sense that we perhaps do the RFP, go through a public, not a direct select, but because I know that would be faster, but I'm just thinking of public perception and just the amount of work that may be involved. But to answer, I wanted to address the mayor because I remember that. The council saw the plan on March 11th, and I believe Mayor Pro Tem Fruworth's work was between the March 11th version and the March 25th. So you were right in remembering that was changed, but it was different versions.
Yeah, she worked very hard.
She did.
Be commended. Well, how about if we do this? Let's shoot for the end of the year, November 2026. Tell the consultant that and let him review it. And if he says, no way, or if he says, hey, yeah, we can do this, then we'll let the consultant. But in the meantime, we'll work towards the end of the year. And if the consultant says there's no way we can do that, then we'll delay it till. I just feel that the longer this drags on, people are going to just vote against it. They're just going to say, why is this taking so long? They're going to be suspicious. Whereas, they'll say it's been 3 years. Let's just, move on. If it's going to take longer, then I just think they're just not going to be as accepting of it. What do you think, Mary?
Yes, of course, I think getting it on the ballot this year, November 2026, is clearly the better way to go, not only because, as Mr. Young points out, we have failed in our obligation to get something on the ballot by the expiration of the 10-year 2015 plan. So that's an uncomfortable position to be in. I'd like to get that rectified as soon as possible. But also, I think that I don't want to put words in a consultant's mouth that we haven't even identified or hired yet. But because the draft general plan went through so much work, and I have every expectation that the general plan draft that we put together and the staff put together checks all the boxes as far as those elements that the statute requires us to have in it. So I don't think there's going to be that issue for the consultant to address. And I think if we give the consultant firm guideline on how we feel, for example, about including the over 50,000 threshold for those elements that the statute requires once you hit 50,000, which we have not, if we give him or her, that kind of direction, they'll be able to provide us the feedback necessary
Yeah.
to make any adjustments to the draft plan.
Because I really think that we are, if you can include our water service area boundary, you have the city limits, but then if you look at the land use map, it is outside our city limits and includes, the water service area boundary. So we are over that 50,000. And I would like to be over the 50,000 because then you can include more elements that people were in favor of. But also we have to think about the charter because we're going to have many charter amendments on the November ballot. So it'd be wonderful, I think, because there's, we'll have the charter and maybe the general plan and just kind of have a better voter turnout, I think, if they know the general plan's going to be on it and the charter. And I believe we've got a lot of candidates that are going to be on it, too, for the midterms. So I think that's, a motivation to at least try to get it on, and then we can default if we can't make the mark to the, and it can't be on the August, primary. It has to be on the general. I think that's state law, isn't it? The general plans have to be on the general election. I think I came across that somewhere.
I can't answer that right now. I don't know if anyone else has looked at that. I don't think that's the case, but I can't say for sure one way or the other. But we can look at that. It's a July primary. Oh yeah, and the primary is in July.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. It's always have been August, hasn't it? What happened? Did something change?
So a couple of years ago, the legislature changed the primary election date, then changed it back. And then about a week ago, the governor signed the current legislation to permanently change the primary election date to the second to last Tuesday in July.
So it's a month in advance?
2 weeks earlier than it has
weeks.
been. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for the update. So the question is, does the general plan have to be in the November general, or can it be on the August primary?
Luckily, Matt has his statute book. It says it can be in either one.
They make fun of me because I made them paper books because I don't like the computer.
I thought you were reading the Bible over there.
This may be a little bit more by analogy because it talks about what happens when a plan fails, but it says the governing body shall either resubmit the proposed new plan or revise the new plan as provided by this section for subsequent submission to the voters at the next regularly scheduled municipal election or at a special election. So I think you can have, they can be at any election,
Yeah,
unless it's called properly.
Yeah, so we could do August instead of
Well, July.
July now. I'm sorry, it's going to be a while to get used to July.
We're
So we
already struggling with the idea that we could get it done by the November. The idea of getting it done by the July 26th? Are you? No. July 27th?
No, next year.
Oh, I see.
Next year.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fast tracking.
That would be
the speed. Yeah,
So
Patrick.
we're saying that we seem to be agreeing that we would like to see a revised schedule adoption timeline that would involve what's it called, a directed solicitation. So by our next meeting, which is maybe a couple of weeks from now, it would be helpful to have you all sit down, and that would give us more clarity as to whether or not we can make that November 27th deadline. I don't know, for example, I understand there likely is a 60-day hearing process.
You talked about November 27th. 26, this year.
Six.
You
to
want
get to
this year.
26, yes.
So shoot for this year, and then if we
But
don't
see,
make it.
put a little more steps in there to know what deadlines we need to meet, particularly those that will trigger the 60-day hearing process. I'm assuming, I don't know this, but the 60-day hearing process doesn't really have to have, or does it, a final plan that council has approved, or I don't know the answer to that.
So when you do major plan amendments or a new full general plan, there is a public hearing process, a lot of public outreach. There's review periods for public agencies within the jurisdiction and beyond to review and provide feedback. So it's really just a certain time period set aside that is just outreach for the public, outreach for other agencies. And so that's the component that we cannot accommodate if we're trying to go for November 2026. There's not enough time to get a consultant on board, get another draft plan ready, get it. It has to be approved by end of June this year to be on November 26th ballot. So that
Right.
all of the public outreach and everything is not feasible for November 26th.
Could you lay that out though in some, I mean, I hear the words, but I'm interested in seeing what that timeline looks like.
Well,
And why, and so is
So
the timeline the same thing for what we might characterize as a minor plan amendment as opposed to a major plan amendment?
Yeah, the minor plan amendment in terms of it's kind of just anything that's not major. So it wouldn't trigger full on, needing to do the public outreach and everything like that. It's a lot simpler in terms of public process. There's not a whole 60-day review and everything like that.
yeah.
I mean, we
'Cause
want
we
a
were-
public process,
Right.
but
But just do minor amendments because, we basically have a plan, the June 24th plan. I mean, we basically had that all ready to go. So any amendments we make to it would be minor, like the table of contents need to be updated, the names of the people that were on the committees,
Yeah,
and
the
put the
maps.
consultant's name in there, include the state statutes, the maps. Those are all, come up with some definitions. There's some words in there that terminology that people didn't understand.
So just generally looking at dates, in order to meet the statutory deadlines for a November 3rd, 2026 ballot measure, the 60-day comment period, 60-day public engagement period, whatever keyword you'd like to use to define it, would need to be concluded by the second week of June in order to meet the deadline to have it on the June 23rd, 2026 council agenda for approval of the plan and ballot language in order to meet the deadline for the November 3rd, 2026 agenda. So your comment period or public engagement period or whatever you're calling it would need to begin in April so that it can end in June. So today is February 11th.
Yeah, we would have the consultant probably would have had a week to look at it. So, okay, thank you. You should have spoken 20 minutes ago.
I have another question along that line. So again, if it's a minor amendment, I heard you say that, and I'm not suggesting we have less citizen engagement, don't misinterpret, but I thought I heard you say that that same 60-day period may not apply.
No, the 60-day period is for major plan amendments or a brand new general plan.
And
So if
Councilman,
we change this map to correct it, would that be a minor or a major amendment?
Well, we can base it off the definitions in the drafted plan. In our current general plan, we highlight the different elements and the different trigger points that would require a major plan amendment and the whole public hearing process, planning and zoning, things of that nature. Kind of by default, whatever is not a major plan amendment, we consider a minor. It's actually defined in the two plans that aren't adopted, so we could use them as parameters, but the major versus minor is kind of the parameters are in there, and we could use that as a baseline, but otherwise a minor plan amendment is not defined right now in terms of what process we have to go through.
So it's like whatever we want it to be. Is that it? We could just
Unless
say, hey,
it's-
this is a minor
Unless it's
amendment.
major.
This is a minor amendment, right?
So-
I like that.
I was just going to tell you what a major plan amendment is because it's defined in the statute in 946106, subsection H. For purposes of this section, major amendment means a substantial alteration of the municipality's land use mixture or balance as established in the municipality's existing general plan use element. The municipality's general plan shall define the criteria, which I think Alex was referring to determine if the proposed amendment to the general plan effects a substantial alteration of the municipality's land use mixture or balance as established in the municipality's existing general plan land use element. That being said, I think we're kind of conflating a few things. A major amendment requires a vote of the people again. You know, it's resubmitting it. As Alex said, very few cities and towns define what a minor amendment is, other than saying it's anything that isn't a major amendment.
Well, an example is like we have Tree City in there, and there are a lot of people upset about the word Tree City, Tree City. So if we eliminated the Tree City, would that be a minor or a major? I mean, it's not really land use.
One of the things that I was just going to point out, if I may, is that when we're talking about Amendment 2, that supposes that we have a general plan, and as we stand right now, we are not in a spot where we have a general plan. Again, as to Mr. Young's point early on, kind of the idea or the working theory that we would be working off of is that we're going off of the 2015 plan, but under the statute or per the statute right now, we don't actually have a general plan. And so I think that's to the point that we had discussed before with as far as major and minor amendments, that presupposes that you are amending something as opposed to creating a new general plan. And so that's kind of why we were looking at the more conservative approach, because you do at least open yourself up to criticism and potential challenges to the fact that are we actually amending a plan that we don't have under the statute?
So we're basically creating another one. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I think we need to err on the side of caution, and we will embrace our general plan for another year and a half, I guess. And we have elections next year, council elections, so that would probably be another election issue that future council member candidates could bring to the voters, because it will, yeah. So I'm glad we figured that out. Thank you very much. Now we need to, are we ready to vote on whether or not we want to use the June 24th, 2025 plan or the March 25th, 2025 plan? I'm for the 24th plan because the map is already correct. So we don't have to, you know, and this is wrong though. And I don't know if it was corrected in the June 24th version, if it was brought to our attentions. It wasn't, so we still have to work on the major plan amendment chart there. It was pretty, if you look at it, everything's a minor amendment. It's pretty funny somehow, and compare it. But I'm still gonna compare it to the 2015 and see what, make sure it's kind of more in line with the conservative version. Patrick, any comments?
Yes, I'm going to register through my vote that I still support the March 25th version. But however, I do recognize that we need to compromise, and I appreciate the point that Councilwoman Frederickson was making about, you know, looking back at the 2025 general plan and the ability to make recommendations for what might be reinserted into the June plans. So I appreciate that compromise as part of this discussion.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, I move to establish the June 24th, 2025 general plan as the baseline document for subcommittee review and discussion moving forward. Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Did you say aye?
No, I didn't hear.
He didn't say aye.
No, I didn't say aye. So
Okay.
yeah, I guess you have to ask, are there nays? So I'm a nay.
So you
2-1.
so you were still going to stick with the 2015 general plan? Is that what you said?
No, I'm just
were-
not using. I'm not voting for using the June 24th plan, but I understand.
You're abstaining? Are you
I'm
abstaining?
voting no.
You're voting no. Okay, thank you. Got to make that perfectly clear.
Motion passes 2-1.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, just so we're clear, you want to do the direct selection of a consultant, or do you want to reconsider whether or not you're going to do the RFP?
I'd like to just do the direct selection. I think
That was your
it'd be-
vote. I just want to make sure because I heard
Yeah.
Chelsea.
Yes, I think
kinda-
if we're going to try anyway for this year's ballot, that's the way to go.
Fair enough.
I think based on the discussion I've heard is we're shooting for direct select, but we're shooting for November
Yes,
2027.
because we're basically starting with, since our plan expired from 2015, we're considered in the state statutes, we're starting over, so we have to do it in 60-day public.
Yeah, that would certainly
Yeah,
be the
these
the
aren't
legal department's
minors.
recommendation that
Yeah, we
we take
can't.
the more conservative approach and not allow.
So it'll be
what I
August,
see would be a rather
I mean,
easy
July.
attack procedurally
Yeah.
on something that's very controversial. So I could actually see it being attacked.
So it'll be July. We'll shoot for July. That's better than November.
I can, just in kind of the spirit of the timelines, I can maybe put both together. I do think, though, it just by the time you add in the public comment, all of the layers, it all just adds up. It takes a lot of time. So I can certainly draft a timeline, but I do think that the November is just a more realistic timeframe for all the different components statutorily we need to meet.
So what was the date, Sarah? Oh, Sarah left. The date in July. When's the election?
She said the second Thursday
Sec-
of, I think,
Second to last Thursday, second to last Tuesday, sorry,
Tuesday.
in
yeah.
July.
And I appreciate your comment. On the other hand, we had 2.5 years of a general plan review committee, and I think it's our responsibility as a city council to try to expedite that process and not have it on the election of November. That's my opinion, and rather have it in July.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that sounds pretty good. So, in summary, our goal should be to get a version on the July 2027 ballot, primary ballot, that will be overwhelmingly supported by the community. And it does have legally binding sections, the land use part. I've heard people on the radio saying, oh, it's not legally binding, it doesn't make any difference, But there are sections that are legally binding, so it's very important that we have people understand that. And we're starting off with an excellent basis here with the 2025, June 2025 version. And it's been the product of many years of work. And we just need some review, tweaking, fine tuning, and some more public feedback. And I have a list of things that I'd like to put on the agenda for our next meeting. We can have an agenda meeting maybe after this meeting. Do you have time?
So I guess moving forward, thank you for the summary. Capturing next steps, we'll work on getting Direct Select someone on board to help us facilitate this process. In terms of, I know we talked about involvement. It sounded like you said, Mayor, at the beginning, you wanted to keep reviewing the document until we get a consultant on board.
Right.
In terms of doing that, so now we know the June 24th plan. Do you want to review it in sections per each meeting? Do you know, how best does this work for you all to go about actually capturing all the changes you want to see?
I think we can, it'll be our homework. We can each individually, review what we want. And it'd probably be a good idea to start at the beginning and do it in sections. What do you think? Kind of a little more organized. And then we'll have, we can talk about it at our next meeting. It should be pretty straightforward. And so, I'd like to include things like an executive summary so that people look at the document at the beginning and they can just kind of see the highlights. I think that would be good. And, have some progress made by the time we get the consultant on board.
There was, I know when it was before the council, there was the discussion of how helpful an executive summary would be. And I don't know if your departments have started pulling that together, but if you haven't, working off the June version, maybe you could get going on that.
We can get it started. We will not have it ready for the next meeting, but we can certainly start something. Yes.
That'd be good.
Yeah. And so I think we got a good start, and I wanted to thank the legal team and community development. Thank you have you done general plans in the past? Have you managed to avoid that bullet?
Largely, yes, but I'm here, ready for fun.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't have applied for the job if you knew you were going to be drawing the short stick.
Yeah, that was not in the interview, no.
But this will be great on your resume for any future. They say, oh, you survived a general plan. Well, you can, especially the Prescott general plan.
Yeah, I got it covered. What's next?
Yeah, but I really appreciate community development, and I think we'll have like I said, a very successful general plan. So our next item is general announcements. Do you have any?
I do not at this time, other than sorry for the time confusion and the room confusion. We're working through the kinks, but I think we got it figured out, so we'll be good. And then in terms of the next steps as well, we were anticipating meeting the 2nd and 4th Wednesday of each month. So we were going to shoot for not next, but the week after Wednesday, February 25th. And then kind of keeping with that consistency would be March 11th, but then March 25th.
Be at 3:00.
Yes, it will be. It should be on your calendars too, as we.
I've never had that happen. I'm going to have to really double check when I look at the agendas to make sure the times were right. I did not notice I did not know it was legally you had to. Yeah, you couldn't change the time.
No, I found out at 1:30, so.
Yeah.
We were all running here.
Did I hear that we are going to have the March 11th
March 11th,
and then also the March 25?
not the March 25. That's the council break, so we'll not be meeting then, and we'll reconvene on April 8th. That's kind of the general outline we have. We've put placeholders on your calendars because, believe it or not, you three are hard to pin down in the same room. So we put placeholders in there. We can kind of get a month or two in and modify as needed, but that kind of gives us a good rhythm for a little bit, and then we can readjust.
You can always find Mary and I down on Whiskey Row if you need us.
So you guys are going to go forward with beginning to draft an executive summary and reach out to a direct.
We'll start putting together an RFP to get a scope, if you will, to get a consultant on board, so we have kind of an outline of what they know we're looking for. And then that may even be an executive summary. We could certainly start it, but that may be a good thing for the consultant to put together too, just kind of depending on timelines. So yes, we'll start drafting that. We'll have a draft for you in 2 weeks. Hopefully that's kind of generally encompassing. Another just kind of thing on timing, meeting every other week. We'll try and get you the agendas ahead of time, but the civic clerk system, with the holiday on Monday, it's timing wise, it's like a few day turnaround for staff to actually get stuff together for the civic clerk website to then get you all your packets. So we'll certainly do our best, but it does only give us like 3 or 4 days to get things in motion. So we'll do our best and get you what we can.
Alex, you did just say RFP, but we are going
scope, sorry.
direct
Never mind.
solicitation. Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah. So what is that called again? A scope?
Direct select.
Direct?
Direct selection of professional services. Our procurement code allows us to directly select professionals like lawyers and accountants and doctors and expert witnesses in trials and
Okay.
general plan experts.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, let's see. Is there anything else before we adjourn?
I do have one final question for the direct select in terms of what we put together. Is that something you all want to review and approve prior to us moving forward, or can we move forward and we'll update you along the way once we get someone on board?
I don't think I need to review it.
Okay.
No, I don't. I think
We
we're
will
good.
plan to keep you posted then. Thank you.
Well, before we adjourn, I just wanted to thank Patrick and Mary. I think you're highly motivated, and I think we've got a pretty good committee here, and we've got a balance of ideas, and that we can bounce off of each other. And we certainly like to read and the general plan. I don't know how many people have read War and Peace, but I have read that. So it's kind of a similar thing.
Maybe just to push along for the next meeting, I know I'm going to be doing this, and I'd just suggest as between March and June, since we had a difference of opinion there, we could do a compare and contrast and maybe come with a list of anything that we might feel needs to be pulled back in
Yes.
from March
Yes.
into June. So that might be a good bit of homework before we meet again.
Yeah.
And then doing that by section, so we're not doing the whole plan over the weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, break it down.
We'll get as far as we can before our
Right.
heads explode.
Yeah, and it'll be a lot more methodical, go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and hopefully get it on the ballot and approved.
Get it done.
For clarity of the record, sorry, Mayor, do you want to say just what sections you want to go over so that we have that and staff can be prepared for what sections you want to discuss at that next meeting? And so that, just to Councilman Grady's point, that you're not going through the entire thing?
Yeah, we could divide it up into by how many meetings we're planning on having. How many meetings are we going to have? 1, 2, 3.
I don't know if it's been exactly, I mean, we just didn't know how long this will take, so I don't think we have a certain idea. I realistically, I mean, it depends on the scope and how many things you want changed, but I can realistically say, seeing it take 2 to 3 meetings to actually get through the full document.
So maybe divide it up in thirds, do you think? Would that be good? Or we could do 25%, put it in fourths? 33 and a third?
Well, I know the introduction is pretty pro forma, except for that one element in the introduction that will take some discussion. So I think we could do both the introduction and maybe the first 2 of the substantive sections. That would be chapters 1 and 2. I think that would be a good, strong start.
Okay. All righty. Chapters 1 and 2. Okay, we all agree on that? Got our homework? Okay, hopefully we get A pluses. All right. Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.